I think it's also gotten a lot more difficult to get in touch with who we truly are because of the sheer noise of life, technology, opportunity, the desire to know oneself is sort of trendy today, and I think that in and of itself is overwhelming for people. So how do you tap in? What would be the first step?
You're absolutely right. People are so caught up in everything else that they have forgotten who they are. And so our journey must begin with first establishing base with ourselves, not with other things, not with other solutions, but with us, just as an individual, just as who you are.
Welcome to my show, Prem. Thank you so much for being with me today.
It's a great pleasure to be with you and with your audience and to share some insights. Been doing this for quite a long time, and it's just wonderful to help people all around the world who need help, who want to take some help.
I could not agree more, and it is the honor and privilege is mine. I know you have a prolific career over 50 years traveling the globe, speaking in over 250 cities, probably more, on this topic of peace and the universal desire that we all have for it. And I'd love for you to speak to that. Why peace, Prem?
Well, you know, so much of the education that we receive, because everything that we think we know is really something that has been added to us. This is not fundamentally what we knew when we were born. We knew one thing when we were born, which is give it a cry if you need something. And if you are happy, go to sleep. And that's how our lives actually started. And then it's like, oh, I have to do this, I have to accomplish this, I have to succeed in this. All this was learned later on. And what does it mean when we learn all these things? Do we make a separation between these things and who we are? We don't. We think this is my idea, this is what I have to do.
Mm.
And on we go. And then before you know it, we find ourselves in a very complicated situation. And the situation might be that we even have a job that's bringing home the bread and butter, but
Hmm.
we hate it. We hate it. And we hate going to our work every single day. And there we are, caught in this paradox of what do I do now? Because I know that I have to get bread and butter home. Maybe there are other people in my household who are relying on me to bring that bread and butter home. But something in me doesn't want to do it. I don't enjoy what I'm doing. I don't enjoy being who I am. I don't enjoy, this is too much pressure. This is too much. And a lot of people, they go, okay, uh, all of a sudden one day they find themselves walking on a road and they find that a shoe that they're wearing is full of a very sharp rock. And instead of taking the time to remove the rock from the shoe and comfortably go on walking, they're like, well, give me an aspirin. Give me something that'll take away my pain. Give me a band aid. Give me something because this is horrible. And somebody comes along and says, well, why are you taking all this medication? Why are you doing all this? Do you know why you're doing this? Because you don't have to. All you have to do is take away that rock that's in your shoe and you will be comfortable again. And sometimes it sounds so simple when you say it, but it's so complicated with all the challenges that we have in our life. We find ourselves, nailed against the wall sometimes. And we're
Yeah.
looking for a solution out of this misery. And yet it's just like more solutions we look, more complex those solutions are. It's like, okay, sit down
Yeah.
in a room and don't think about anything. And it's like control your thoughts, And I remember when I first came, I was a teenager when I first came to America. I was 13 years old, and people much older than me and much more educated than me would sit down and go, okay, how do I control my thoughts? I said, what? Why do you want to control your thoughts? I mean, what do you think you're going to gain by controlling your thoughts? Don't you understand that the desire to control your thought is a thought in itself? You're still
Right.
attached to the thought, and you're going to be sitting there in some room going, am I controlling my thoughts? Have I controlled my thoughts? Have my thoughts gone away? And you're going to be thinking about your thoughts going away. And so, how have you become thoughtless? You're not thoughtless. You're still thinking, and that goes to the quintessential essence of it, because we need to understand who we are as a human being. And if we understand who we are as a human being, we can understand our limitations, and we can also understand our strengths. And this is what we don't know. We don't know our strengths, but we finally have learned our limitations.
Yeah.
And the world is frustrated because of that.
Right. Well, I think it's also gotten a lot more difficult to get in touch with who we truly are because of the sheer noise of life, technology, opportunity, the desire to know oneself is sort of trendy today. And there's all of these different ways in which we can explore that. And I think that in and of itself is overwhelming for people. So how do you tap in? What would be the first step? Because I agree with you, it's really, really simple. It's still so hard for people.
Yeah. And it's like, um, in a way, exactly what you said, and it's very true. But at the same time, it's like, well, I can't smell myself. I can smell the flowers, and I can smell the bees, and I can smell everything else, but I can't smell me. And it's
Mm,
like, well, excuse me, you don't know who you are. I mean, you are in you, and you are attached to you, and yet you are so alienated from you. How can that be? What's going on here? What mirror are you
mhm.
looking at? What who are you looking at? If you cannot find yourself amidst this huge ocean, and yet you're absolutely right. People are so caught up in everything else that they have forgotten who they are. And so our journey must begin with first establishing base with ourselves, not with other things, not with other solutions, but with us, just as an individual, just as who you are, not
Right,
how you should be, but who
right.
you are. And
If
begin with that. And that is the very first step.